4 teams left battling it out. By the end of the day, 1 will be sent on forward to the Manchester Major. Welcome to the Rainbow Six North America Last Chance Qualifiers. My name's Sierra Dawn, joined here by Fox and Jesse. I mean, Fox, going through the Last Chance Qualifiers, it's definitely a little nerve-wracking at times, but it's been fun.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, as a player, you finally get this moment of realization that everything is gone. There's no other chances. This is where you have to make your final stand. So the pressure is just immense, but that's where, the heroes are formed.
And under pressure, I mean, that's where we get to see who can kind of step up and, Jesse, who has to step out. And I'm excited to see today going on forward, who's going to be able to rise up to that challenge.
Yeah, absolutely, Sierra. It's going to be a tough question. I think of all the days in the North American League stage, the LCQ final day, the day with 2 semifinals and the grand finals, is always my favorite day. We have so many teams battling it out. Tears will be shed, hearts will be broken. 3 of these teams have to go home, but 1 at the end of the day will reign victorious. And I can't wait to find out who it'll be.
Yeah, only 1 can be joining M80, Beast Coast, and Zark Zero going on to Manchester. And I have to say, when I look back at this this bracket so far, Fox, I feel like this is kind of met expectations so far.
Absolutely. I think everyone expected the Pro League teams to come ahead. That doesn't necessarily take anything away from the T2 teams that were able to play. We saw a lot of, I wouldn't say necessarily close games besides LG Los Mangos, where, we could have gone either way. But even though it was expected, we did see a lot of promise from the T2 team themselves.
And for today, we're going to be showing all of the matches. So first off, it's going to be Oxygen going up against Soniqs. And last time we saw these two face, it was quite a bit back here, looking back at stage 1, Jesse. So I'm excited to see now, with backs against the wall, what changes have been made and how this matchup will go.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Soniqs have gone through the most drastic change of any team in these qualifiers. Obviously, bringing Grixer back off the bench. They've really been looking like a different team since that move, and we're excited to see how the rest of it goes. I think for Oxygen as well, I mean, really disappointing end to their season to come through now, win their quarterfinal game. This will be their real test for both teams. We get to see kind of how they've improved over the last couple weeks.
Of course, I mean, it would be scary for any team to go up 5-0, set like our new record. I'm pretty sure they set the 5-0 record,
Yeah.
And then Beast Coast also did in the same season. But to set that record and then all of a sudden just look like a completely different team, like all of the fundamentals, like the Monstars from Space Jam just took all their juice.
And I have to see them get that juice back going into today, Fox, because when this team can step up, they have the energy. I like what we're seeing, but it's something that I think has been missing for a little bit of time.
Absolutely. I mean, OXG, since the start, making changes, especially since they got Diaz and Gomez, the whole point was to change the identity of the team. And it looked like the identity definitely did change from the start of the season. But now this is where the growing pains are coming in. You need to see somebody step up and solidify themselves as just that pinpoint leader. It doesn't necessarily need to be one or the other. It doesn't need to be one specific player. It could be a coach. It could be anybody. But we need to see somebody really form themselves as the person that's going to fix the mistakes that OXG are hemorrhaging.
Well, there was definitely a step up that we got to see in the match going up against SSGA here, Jesse. And we got to talk a little bit more about Yaga.
We really do. Yaga had a really rough stage going through the North American League to start us off. He was one of the worst KD players in the entire stage, even going through against some other players or some other teams that didn't do so well. Below players on Los and Wildcard, but boy did he step up yesterday or over on Monday. He really did pop off and have some fantastic plays for Oxygen, going some ridiculous numbers, especially on defense. 16-3 was his overall defensive KD, which is absolutely ridiculous. You can see it there, 5.33 overall KD ratio. That is insane for Yaga. Now on attack, he did still have some struggles. I think the way that BO3 played out, they obviously started and ended on attack with some defense in the middle. I think those first couple of attacks, we saw a little bit of lack of confidence from OXG. Weren't really able to get going, especially on Oregon. But then once they hit their stride, once it felt like we were seeing the old Oxygen, Yaga was swinging things. He was hitting shots. He was playing really, really confident. And I think if we can get that mentality back for both Yaga and the rest of Oxygen, they're in a really good space to go far through this LCQ.
And I need to see that coming out of the gate going up against Soniqs. And diving deep into Soniqs, I mean, this is a team that I think had one of the bigger change-ups when we go into our last chance qualifiers here. Well, how are we feeling about how they're kind of gelling versus Wildcard, Jesse, in comparison to stage 1?
Yeah, I think that this is a team that we're still questioning, right? Obviously, a huge change, dropping their IGL of Geo, bringing in Grixer for this LCQ, very last minute. They didn't have a lot of time to kind of work Grixer back into the lineup. They did beat Wildcard already in the quarterfinals, as you said, and that's great. But Wildcard is always going to be kind of one of those weaker teams for the North American League. Auction will be a much tougher test. And of course, if they get to the grand finals, that will be an even tougher test. So I think we still have yet to see. I think it was better for sure. They started to improve, especially on those defenses, which is why they initially wanted to bring the player in. But we need to see more from Soniqs today.
And Fox, I mean, we had talked about Grixer coming back in. We now got to see the performance, and we compared to how the stage one went with Geo. But what about going head-to-head with Wildcard, both of these players kind of stepping up? Like, what's been this main difference?
I mean, the biggest thing isn't just performance, right? They're both playing the same role, supportive role. They're both going to be that backline and the guidance, the leadership that a young rookie team just needs, right? And obviously, we saw Geo play against Wildcard with the rest of the Soniqs roster. They actually played back on Playday 7, and they ended up losing 4-7 to Wildcard on Bank. Now, on the flip side of things, Grixer comes back, and if you look at the stats, it doesn't really look, I mean, obviously Grixer had 2 maps to play, but if you cut them down the middle, it was very much even. So it wasn't necessarily a stats performance that brought, but if you looked at the difference in play that Soniqs was able to bring, it all came down to the confidence that Grixer was able to bring back to the team. He specifically told me that now that he's back in the game, they are sticking with the same system that they have, but they just have that little extra bit of push when it comes to making those playmaking calls, and Grixer's able to really round it all out. And we saw that exactly today, rewriting the wrongs and 2-0ing Wildcard.
Yeah, I can't agree more, with what Fox was saying there. Obviously, it's not about the stats. With Grixer coming through, the difference in play has been huge for the Soniqs.
Yeah, and we have to touch on the fact, too, that going into the last chance qualifier, Grixer coming back in, it's not just a change-up that we're seeing here, Fox. This is also someone competing with a fractured shoulder. Like, that is an extra hurdle to get through for the team.
I mean, that's just insane. Like, what are the chances? The day that he was supposed to play yesterday, he put the tweet out. This was a hot take, but I thought Soniqs was going to win this side of the bracket. And then all of a sudden, right before their match, Grixer just puts a tweet out saying that he fractured his collarbone, like, just to make things that much harder on themselves. But they were still able to get to the win yesterday with 2 8-6, 8-6. But I mean, still, little things like that definitely affects your play, can get into your head mentally. And when Grixer's coming in and he's trying to fix everybody on the team's mental, obviously it causes some error, obviously, when you are worried about the guy that's coming to fix the mental has like a broken bone potentially.
Hopefully he was able to rest it on the one off day. But of course, before we get into today's match, we got to make sure we can hear from DS and Ambi about their thoughts.
The first round of LCQ went good. It went as expected. We faced a tier 2 team. They were a bit weaker, and we got the dub. Newers was playing very well against SSG Academy. He's always playing very well, to be honest. He's sparky. His comms are good. He's always flying, and he helped us a lot that game. Also felt very good because we haven't won in a while. So after winning that one, it definitely felt good.
First round, the LCQ went great. You know, the team was meshing well together. You know, we know how Wildcard play, and, you know, we had a good game plan. We stuck to it, and we got the job done. But I will say Adam was our player that was our last alive and clutched a lot of those rounds in the end. So Adam did really good today against Wildcard. You know, after the NAL, we had like 2 weeks to practice with Pablo Grixer. And, you know, we've been meshing great. The team just synergy dynamic is just amazing. And, yeah, it's great having him here.
Our first game against Soniqs went pretty smooth. I forgot the score, but I'm pretty sure they didn't win many rounds. But it was at the beginning of the stage, so it doesn't really matter. But with the addition of Grixer, I think they're gonna be very good. They're gonna be flying again. Yeah, they're a team that if you don't win your gunfights against them, you're gonna lose a game. They'll come out swinging and fry you.
OXG's a really good team. You know, they went 5-0 for a reason in group stage and doing LCQ, and they're really coordinated. They know what they want to do mid-round and early round, so we have I'm not, no, that was too much. That's federal. The Umber. They're a newish team, but they have a core 3 that's been together. So we know they're going to be really coordinated. So we have to be ready for that.
Wanted to shout out my team again. I did this once, and I'll do it again. Thank you guys for putting in the work, and we're going to Manchester.
Our goal is to make the major, and that's literally the only thing we're looking for. We don't care who's in our way. We're just trying to make it.
The only goal to make it on to the major. The last time these two teams met, right at the beginning of the stage, it was a win for Oxygen. But now, Jesse, a lot has changed. We're in best of 3, so I'm sure that we're in for a very close matchup ahead.
100% Sierra. Best of 3s are where we get to see teams really shine and show their best. And with the map ban phase coming through, we'll get to see what they've been planning. For me, these first 4 bans kind of scream that these two teams are both playing it kind of safe. They're not leaving open any potential curveballs. Instead, they're just banning the maps that they've been enjoying to ban throughout the stage. Oregon and Bank, undoubtedly the maps to pick here. No shock in my mind at all. Kind of thought both of those could have gotten banned if either of these teams wanted to leave open some maps like maybe Skyscraper or Border. I don't think either of those maps would have been picked first phase had they not been banned out, but they choose to play it safe again, banning those maps, allowing their opponent to pick these maps, which statistically will heavily favor both of the teams that have chosen.
OXG going with Oregon makes a lot of sense to me. Obviously, it really looks like they're trying to flex on the start of the brand phase to just be comfortability wise, and then leaving Nighthaven up to the end is also a little bit of a risk because it's never necessarily been one of OXG's stronger maps, but it has been a map that we used to pretty much try to get ready for moments like these, and this is exactly a classic OXG ban phase where they want their comfort at the first to at least secure one solid map. I think Soniqs is expecting to take it a little bit more in a 2-0 fashion. If it gets to map 3, I'd be worried if I was Soniqs.
All right. Well, before we head into the match, then we know what their team's hoping. We know what Auction's hoping for the 2-0. Do we think it's going to happen? How do we think this first one's going to end up, Fox?
I don't know. It's a really tough one. Jesse, you want to go first? You want to go
I'll
first
take
with the
it.
prediction?
I'll take it, especially because we're going into Oregon. Auction have played this map so many times. They're 3-0 undefeated on the season, so I like trends. I'm going to follow that. I say Oxygen win their own map pick, but I think this goes to 3 in the long run. Oh, and for scoreline, let's go 7-4.
Can't forget the scoreline.
I'm glad you say that because I'm not a fan of trends. I really think like at a certain point, all good things come to an end. I will go Soniqs winning. I think they'll win 8-6. Grixer is like, every time we played Grixer on Oregon, he always did so good. So him coming back, him now playing Oregon, I'd be a little nervous. OXG needs that first map if they want to be able to win the series. That's in my opinion.
For sure.
I mean, you're saying the 8-6 lock. I have to dive in a little deeper. You think like it's going to be so close to kick things off that we're going to get the OT to be opening up the series?
I think SQ, when it comes to all of their maps right now, they have a really good idea. I think just getting Grixer back in last minute, they're just trying to get the fundamentals worked out. But the ideology of what they want to do has come through. And that was my whole main point with bringing Grixer in for Geo, was that just game plan is there. So 8-6, I assume there are going to be areas where hiccups arise, and that's okay because of the limited amount of time. But on a map like Oregon, when you always have those defenses to really rely on, I do think it does come down to the wire more often than not, and I could see both these teams just going back and forth until inevitably somebody has to win.
Yeah, and 8-6 wouldn't be unfamiliar to Soniqs either. When they played M80 earlier in the season on this map, that was an 8-6 game. That was an 8-6 loss for the Soniqs. They didn't win that match, but I do agree with what Fox is saying. This map can obviously be very close when you look at the score lines, just due to the fact that those bomb sites in the basement and top floor can be really, really strongholds that both teams should kind of expect to win. We have talked a lot about how Oxygen sometimes have been known to fall apart on the basement. I think that trend has kind of been bucked at this point. They do have a pretty decent recent history, their last couple of maps, of being able to defend the bottom bomb site, even if they struggle with that at the very start of the season. So yeah, I think a close game is more likely than a lopsided game for sure, regardless of who wins.
Also, I mean, Jesse loves trends, and I feel like the trend that everybody is probably thinking of is OXG all of last year does so well, makes it to the playoffs, loses playoffs, makes it to the LCQ, loses LCQ. We lost to Soniqs, I'm pretty sure, both LCQs last year. So that being said, there is a little bit of a trend of pressure on the backs of OXG, and I hate to be that guy to bring it up, but of course, if anybody's gonna bring it up, it might as well be me.
I mean, we'll have to see if this could be a day of breaking trends and how the series is going to be kicking off. And it's time to get into our first map and kick it over to our casters, Intero and Jonah.
Well, thank you very much. I'm excited to see what happens here in the semifinals, because what we have are two teams that have yet to drop a single map in these closed quals. Now, obviously, that trend line's going to end for one of these teams, but there's good storylines for both of them coming in. And there's been concerns on some of these maps, Jonah. What's the first thing that stands out in your mind that you're going to be thinking through at least 2, maybe 3 maps when you see both of these teams do battle?
when I look at Soniqs, and we did see this brought up on the desk, the conversation is still around Grixer coming back into this roster and seeing exactly how the new Soniqs looks. Weird to say, Grixer coming in, new Soniqs, but he hasn't been on the roster for the last stage. We've seen Geo in this role, and it's not just a one-for-one swap. It's not just a sub coming in. It is your IGL now out of this team. So we're still looking to see how this Soniqs identity is formed. And on a map like Oregon, map number 1, defense has really been called into question. So they'll have a chance to prove that they've fixed their defensive issues right away on map number 1.
Yeah, there's really two storylines for me when you look at these teams. Number one, OXG spent much of the regular NAL season at the top of the standings, but what a fall from grace it was. This was a team that on the 8th or 9th last of play day came in the top 2, and now they're fighting for their lives. There's no do-over here. There's no lower bracket. If OXG gets vanquished in the semifinals by Soniqs, this whole stage effectively was for naught. And OXG making 2 big roster moves in the offseason, picking up Gomez and picking up Diaz. As for Soniqs, this was a team that maybe weren't the masters of their own destiny at the start of the season. They didn't expect Citizen to step off of the team. He requested a release. He went over to M80. And Soniqs, I don't want to use the word scramble, but Soniqs definitely needed to put together a roster that maybe they weren't thinking that they'd have to put together. The changes didn't look terrible. Merc and Adam are both extremely talented players, but it didn't look like they really fit the mold. After a disappointing regular stage, they ship off Geo, they bring back Grixer, who'd been set on the bench, and they look like a pretty good team, honestly. Defeating Wildcard, 8-6, 8-6, yeah, those are nail biters, but ultimately a win's a win. Now, both of these teams are going to go up against one another. OXG looking for redemption, Soniqs looking to bounce back and prove that they are the team that's finished in the top 4 of North America for so many stages, albeit with a different look.
Right, for Soniqs, it's not just about bouncing back. It is going to yet another international event. They have not missed international competition since the Charlotte Major in 2022. OXG, on the other hand, 2023 was not their year for majors. They did not get to attend either. So yes, this LCQ is only going to allow one team through. Both of these 2 teams in front of us in the semifinal, hoping it's going to be them. Obviously, Parker, we know that is not the case. So OXG trying to ride the high, the 4th place finish, the top seed technically in this LCQ bracket, hoping to continue that against the 5th seed of Soniqs, who ended up finishing 8th overall in the closed league portion of the NA League. So again, a lot of questions here, as you mentioned. The storylines, no doubt interesting as we dive into this one, and have said goodbye to all of our T2 open qual teams. It is just the cream of the crop, the creme de la creme that remains. And on Oregon, they'll have to prove that, well, they still have it in them. Map number 1, this is OXG's pick, and they'll begin on the attack.
Yeah, this is a map that is repeatedly referred to as a map where you need to understand your fundamentals, right? Oregon is as basic as it comes. Oregon and Clubhouse are probably the 2 maps that teams will always feel semi-comfortable on, or at least will spend some time ensuring that all of the really rudimentary stuff with executes, the rudimentary stuff on defense is all squared away. Obviously, this is OXG's map pick, so they are hoping that they have the leg up over their adversaries. OXG will start on attack, and Oregon, unlike a couple maps in our map pool, doesn't really have a weird distinction. It's a defender-sided map, at least across almost every single region that we see it played. And yeah, just to make note here, the creme de la creme, as you called it, OXG and Soniqs are in our first semifinal. At the conclusion of this match, Luminosity and Space Station will do battle. The only team to drop a map in these closed last chance qualifiers was Luminosity against Los Mangos. They lost Clubhouse before coming back and winning the next 2 in the reverse sweep to go up against Space Station, who vanquished Makers yesterday in honestly a thrilling second map on Consulate. We'll transition now, though, into our first bit of action, Jonah, and very first bomb site, downstairs laundry supply.
No, sorry about that. I mean, that matchup last night was wild. I mean, we saw it come down to the wire, it essentially in every single round. And just when you thought SSG were going to drop a map, we were going to see that one go to map 3, we see Fultz and Ashen go absolutely
influence on the back portion of this bomb site, but obviously that will not come to pass. You've lost your shield operator. You've also lost the logic bombs of your Dokkaebi. Still got plenty of tools on the side of OXG, and now the numbers aren't quite so bad with Newers getting the very first pick for Oxygen. But you gotta admit, that's probably not the start that OXG wanted.
No, definitely not. You have your blitz. You really want to keep him alive for that bunker push, to push elbow, to force someone like your Grixer out of that position. But now without him, you're fighting in a man disadvantage for the remainder of this round. They're going to slow things down here. You can see that from Diaz. He's taking his time on the back tower stairs, maybe hoping to bait someone from Soniqs into a peek. Grixer, he's smarter than that, though. He's just going to throw out those toxic smokes, delay time with the utility, rather than actually going for the fight itself here. So yes, OXG were able to get one kill back, but as you said, they find themselves in a bit of a hole, and they're gonna spend the next, 40 seconds trying to make up for it. Soniqs, as long as they stay organized and they don't overexpose themselves here, they shouldn't have too much of a problem getting to the execute phase of this round with that advantage. You see the Vulcan pack right in front of Adam. He's got so much delaying utility at the helm of this. And yes, his shield has been destroyed, but that does not mean he's going to give up this position easily.
Yaga's chock full of utility. The timer won't necessarily be on his side. Grixer reads the swing. Yaga in the grave. Soniqs now in a 4v2. They lost Merc to Newers, but so far that's all that Soniqs has had to worry about. Of course, it being the Wamai is bad. It means fewer magnets that will be available for the defenders, but at this current point in time, I can't imagine utility is the name of the game. There goes Newers to swing over towards Pillar, and Abby, a third kill. Soniqs not breaking much of a sweat on that first defense.
That'll happen when your attacking team just decides to rush in there and try to make something happen early. We often talk about those rushes as kind of a do or die moment. It's that high risk, high reward. If you push in as the blitz, you surprise the opponents, you get the first kill, the defense is immediately going to be on the back foot. You can ride that momentum into an execute, taking quick control, and you can look good while doing it. But the risk is that if it doesn't go well, your entire attack ends before it can truly begin. And that's kind of what happened there with OXG. They're not going to be too worried about it. It's a basement attack. It's not one that you're expecting to win, but maybe not as close of a performance or as good of a fight as OXG was hoping to put up.
No, I mean, this is just what happens to the attacking teams on Oregon. And I know that we're going to highlight the map picks for these teams. And I know that Soniqs obviously limped their way into the qualifiers compared to OXG, at least if you look at the regular season. But these two teams are both very, very well matched. If you look at the fact that OXG is on a bit of a slide as a team compared to where they were at the start of the stage, and where you look at Soniqs have been over their last set of matches, I don't really think there's that much difference between these two squads. You look at the lineups and both of them have tons of playmaking potential. You've got players who can completely dominate the game. And frankly, right now with the fact that you just booted Geo off of Soniqs and OXG has had some very pronounced struggles with leaderships, both of these teams are in a bit of a precarious position with their IGLing. So all considered, I don't necessarily know how much the maps are going to play a huge role in the result of this game.
Yeah, it may just come down to which team is firing better, who can get that coordination going on the given map in this moment. You know, we did see in that Soniqs game, you mentioned how scrappy it was their entire journey to get here, but against Wildcard, 8-6, 8-6. I mean, barely pulling that out. I mean, it is a win, nonetheless. You take it in 2. So if you just look at the 2-0, it looks nice, but the way they got there may be a little messier than they had hoped. OXG as well. Against SSG Academy, a T2 team, they did face a little difficulty on Oregon to start off the series. There was a moment where we took a step back and said, you know what, SSG Academy, it feels like they have more than just a fighting chance. They were up 4-2 after the first half on Oregon, but OXG, they did what they do well and most pro teams do. You move on to the defense on Oregon, things start to go your way. They gathered that momentum, then they moved on to Labs, and they just made fewer mistakes than their T2 opponents on Labs to move on pretty swiftly in the series here. So again, first round, not too big of a problem here. Looking to remedy that in round 2, and Diaz getting on the board first. Good start.
Yeah, significantly better start. Instead of forfeiting 2 of your own players, you're able to take out Merc yet again, who's had very limited impact so far in this matchup. I mean, an early death will do that to you. playing these high-value utility operators. First, it was the Wamai, now obviously the Fenrir. Gadgets will persist, though, so not all hope is lost for Soniqs. There's more utility now being used by OXG. There's some flames shot in towards dorms. It pushed Rexen back. Didn't do much damage, though, so he's not really much worse for wear. Dream still has one of those fire arrows left. It just got fired off, and 2 smokes to go. Newer's looking for an opening, inching his way up top white stairs. Final 40 seconds. The blows will come from both teams. The numbers advantage still favoring OXG in a 4v3. Yaga on a point of HP. Nearsighted with diffuser in hand. Adam looking to narrow these numbers down. There goes Newer's. Grixer in a tough spot. He'll have to swing big window. He doesn't have any information. There's nobody over there. Yaga off the plan, and he gets a pick of his own. He's taking matters into his own hands, Jonah. Adam and Ambi, last 2 remaining. Another for Adam, as now we're in the post plant. Yaga finished off. The plan actually didn't go down. It must have happened at the final second. The timer now is so bad for OXG. It looked like they had the round in their clutches, but they're about to get iced out as it's Ambi to end the round yet again. Soniqs up 2-0.
Perfect example of how messy it has gotten for the Soniqs on these defenses, but somehow they managed to pull it out. A perfect example on that execute. You push into dorms. As the retake was coming in from Soniqs, I mean, 3 of those defenders, it seemed like they were looking the wrong way. The diffuser, I mean, that confusion, I think, for OXG was also present because they figured they should be able to get that down. Looked like they should have. They had the opening, but instead opting to play for the kill. You do that once, you're fine. You do that twice, you do that 3 times, all of a sudden that diffuser's out of pocket. Yes, they had an even man count. That was a 2v2 in the end, but they had not gotten the plant down quickly. Even though you have the advantage, if you don't have the diffuser on the floor, now you're the ones panicking. Now you're the ones stressing in those final few moments. And yeah, Soniqs flipping the script there in the retake, essentially, and getting away with one. It's 2 in a row.
Yeah, that's a round that, you know, OXG's not going to be particularly happy with the end result. And poor Yaga having to get off that diffuse plant on 2 separate occasions. One, because he thought he might be pushed and die from utility. The second, because he knew for certain he was being swung from dorms. The second time was a very successful gamble because he got the kill off of it before going back onto the plant. And it sure looked like he was going to get that diffuser down. It must have been by a hair that he ultimately failed to succeed. Very much could be a 1-1 scoreline. And with the way some of these maps work out, if you're looking at a potential 7-5 scoreline, that single round could be the difference between whether OXG is on the 5 end of that equation or the 7. So now to the tertiary bomb sites. Soniqs will go, meeting in kitchen. Both of these sites are joined by that one kitchen part of the map, but it's really up to you as to whether or not you want to defend over towards the dining hall or towards the meeting. Typically, the meeting is seen more often, and it usually comes with a better win rate for the defenders as well. That might speak to why Soniqs are deciding to hold this part of the map.
Yeah, trying to maintain their position here for now. They're going to be aided by those castle barricades from Ambi. Establish a couple of choke points, but keep in mind, they're not just going to sit back and wait. You've got someone like Merc on the vigil, challenging this pretty heavily, trying to get Oxygen maybe into a little bit of trouble as they make their way into the building, but Merc is the only one really feeling the heat here. He's pretty much on 1 HP, but he swings the corner and Newers was not paying attention. They knew of his position. They had shot him a few times, and he had shot back. But I guess Newers thought the window in the hallway was covered. That means Merc is still alive. He got the first, and there's a second potentially around the corner.
Could very easily pinch him in this position as well, Jonah. The one thing that a Vigil has working for him is his cloaking ability. It works for cameras, not for eyes. Yaga sees him, punishes him for it. Merc was a non-factor in the first 2 rounds. That first leadoff pick on Newers this round is huge. Adam hears some of the hard breach going. He reads into that so well. Down goes Yaga second, but Adam can't ADS in time. Diaz and Gomez, the 2 newest members of OXG, working together valiantly to give OXG a numbers advantage. OXG hasn't really been in this position for much of Oregon so far. And other than maybe what we saw in the previous round, this could be their best opportunity to win it out.
Third site, if there's anywhere they want to take the win, it's going to be here. They have the advantage by 1, but Ambi, he's got 5 kills. Make it 6. Rexen, another one as well.
Final 30 seconds. Where's Diaz to go? He sees Ambi. Ambi, there was some criticism thrown in his direction. He'll have to be the hero this round now as Rexen is removed. but it could be the waiting game. Ambi's a young player, great aim. Is he going to be patient? Diaz relocating over towards meeting. Ambi's retaken from above. I think he assumes that he's down below. Ambi has no information, and there goes the clock. He is now over towards split with a long line of sight into kitchen. He sees the head of Ambi, and Diaz makes it look so routine. The tertiary bomb site falls for the defenders, and OXG gets on the board.
Getting the kills didn't seem to be the problem for Soniqs. Information was the issue in the end. I mean, Ambi, normally as a defender in a situation like that, you retake the top floor. It probably means good things. But when the attacker trying to get the diffuser down is on the other site, is in meeting, there's not really much you're going to be able to do. Diaz had clearly some information because he made the smart choice to rotate over to the other side, no longer vulnerable to those holes up above, nor to the hatch drop, where we saw Ambi eventually approach from. He moved around. When Ambi eventually dropped, there was nothing he could find. You saw him looking both ways. He's like, okay, where did this guy go? If he didn't plant here, it must be in meeting. Well, crap, now you got to take those long angle fights and try to work your way back in with the UMP. To be fair, Ambi's proven more than capable at that, leading the charge on the Soniqs in terms of the kills right now at 6. But even that is going to be a hard situation against the AK of the Ace on a long angle like that through split. So OXG, they get on the board here. It's exactly what they needed to do on Oregon. It's what they did against SSG Academy. They secured the 4-2 split, and they managed to make those defenses work. So yes, different team, semifinal, and yes, it is the Soniqs you are playing against here, but 2 rounds is their target nonetheless.
Yeah, I mean, if the numbers keep up with these bottom floor and top floor bomb sites continuing to work for the defenders, then Soniqs emerges from the first half 4-2. And I think that's really your absolute best case scenario if you look at the fact that, yeah, while I made those comments about the maps aren't being particularly impactful, that it's still OXG's pick. If Soniqs can walk away from that first half up 4-2, then that puts the heat on OXG to do that or better. In fact, they need to do better if they want to avoid overtime on the second half. And there's something to be said for the mental game that is played here as well. I mean, obviously going down 4-2 or 5-1 looks quite dire, but with a lot of maps, that's pretty standard. Some players can still easily get into their own head. So if Soniqs can run up the score on defense, then they're going to set themselves up very well for this second half, potentially enough to catapult them to a victory and go up 1-0, where bank Soniqs' map would be next.
One of the big focal points for OXG here, at least so far through the LCQ, has been the performance of Yaga. And at least through these first few rounds, that is consistent. He's been leading the charge along with Diaz, but not a good performer in the actual regular season, nor in the playoffs of the NA League. Instead, relying on that performance here in the LCQ, seeing if he can keep that up will be a key for OXG. We saw Newers doing what he always does and consistently fragging out in their game against SSG Academy. But as we've talked about, if you want to get these attacking rounds, you gotta have to start turning that around. We're gonna have to see Newers be more successful on the entry. It's gone 2-1 in favor of the Soniqs so far through these first rounds, and I don't think it's a coincidence that that is the scoreline as well.
Well, you've got 2 players that usually have the limelight on them, both Merc as well as Newers. So far, very much underperforming their traditional numbers. But it goes back to something that was talked about early on in the broadcast, which is that both teams have a lot of depth and a lot of very talented players. Very briefly touched upon how Ambi received a fair bit of criticism for some of his performance at SI and then through stage 1. And here is Ambi right now with 6 kills, while the entire rest of his team together has 8. So it's impossible to argue that Ambi's performance right now is a huge part, if not the main part, of why Soniqs are persevering. But this whole round has flown by, Jonah. Yaga drops through the smoke, attempting to do something, and guess who it is? It's Ambi, striking first. Grixer dies inside a hallway. Gomez also on the board. Suddenly, OXG is sweeping right through them. The one who's died first every time, Merc, well, he's the last one standing. He gets 1 kill before OXG takes the round. A win on Laundry Supply for the attackers. A surprise to be sure, but a welcome surprise at that. OXG win yet another round, and it's their 2nd in a row.
Not just any win, a dominant one. That was decisive when they eventually made their push. I mean, there was nothing overly fancy about that. You mentioned The round flew by. They took a full, 2 minutes 40 before they actually made that push, establishing the crossfire that we see between Laundry and Freezer, using both the walls in that Freezer side after you take the control and that space that you take down the bottom of those Laundry stairs to just get about every angle you need to throw some smokes in, establish those choke points, and deny the defense from retaking. It sounds maybe fairly simple. We can obviously say it is not. That is not a site or an execute that attacking teams typically win. To do it, you need to be perfect. Your smokes have to be perfect. Your timing needs to be perfect. And most of all, you have to worry about attackers swinging, or rather defenders, on the retake, swinging from the rotate in the Laundry room, swinging from the closet, swinging from the long hall, and swinging from Freezer, not to mention a possible flank. A lot to cover at once, and OXG proving that they could do that. Newers, he woke up, got 2 kills there, and everyone locked it down. Soniqs felt like there wasn't much they could do.
No, it's quite surprising when you look at the utility that was being brought as well from Soniqs. I mean, Oxygen cut through those Goyo canisters. It looked the perfect timing, and they made it look so easy, Jonah. It just, with all of the layers that Soniqs had, and especially that early roam that they wanted to have, or not the early roam, but the early offsite focus that they had, you would think that it might have tripped up OXG, but maybe it just took a couple rounds for OXG to find their footing, and maybe there is more of a pronounced difference in the way that these teams want to approach these maps. There's good reason why OXG picked Oregon, even if they are on that unfavorable side. Merc really is playing a feast or famine style of game, though, as he was the first casualty in the first 2 rounds, got the first pick in the 3rd round, and now here in the 5th round, gets the first pick again. He's not on even numbers, but being able to pick up Newers in the previous round and Yaga now, that's pretty good for Soniqs.
In terms of sheer volume of plays that both of these teams have experienced on Oregon throughout the regular season, OXG have played this map a handful of times, and Soniqs only once. They lost it in overtime to M80, have not played it since. Of course, Diaz said it in the interview himself that Soniqs is a very different team with Grixer on it now. Merc, great shot there onto Newers, but seems like despite the difficulty on the basement, Soniqs are off to a much better start here on Dorms.
Yeah, undeniably so. Yaga and Newers dying early, and I mean quite early. We're only at the halfway point of this round, and well, if you remember, the last time OXG went about this bomb site, they killed Merc early and were able to get in big window, establish control, isolate Rexon, who was playing inside of Dorms. And Soniqs were quite strong at holding over towards the trophy and attic area, but OXG had big window for the taking. That's obviously not the case right now. Soniqs in a 5v3 with just a little bit less than a minute to go. You've got to worry about attic. You've got to worry about white stairs. Diaz will lead the charge through attic as now Dream looks to link up over towards the master closet.
Good shot, but what is he going to do? It's 2 versus 4 now. You lost Gomez. You don't have any utility left, no real drones, and no time to do it. It's only Diaz with 1 in pocket, but they're just going to go for it.
There's Diffuser going down. Peels off, and oh my, they baited it out, but Sonic sweep right through them, and that's the routine Dorms hold that we were looking for. Sonics might be kicking themselves after losing that previous round to OXG. But right now, they're just letting this map do what it does best on defense. The greater question, Jonah, before we sum up what happened in that round, do they go back to Laundry Supply down below, or do we see one of the tertiary bomb sites for the final SQ defense?
You gotta think they go back downstairs. I mean, it's only logical. You never know. Maybe they've got something cooked up, but yeah, no, I think we got that question answered. Yes, OXG were able to take this one successfully last time, but no, it is not something they should be able to do regularly. They proved they could handle it fine. A good, again, as we established, a good crossfire between Freezer and Laundry, making the push exclusively from that east side. But to do that again, they're now gonna have to go against a Sonic defense that is specifically tailored to deny that.
Well, the Thorn was a big factor in the previous round, not because of the gadgets, but simply because Ambi played so aggressively on those back tower stairs. He was semi-aided by the fact that Sonics decided to break through that tower door and send the Dokkaebi and Blitz into their doom. Look at the lineup from OXG here, and I don't see anything that would suggest a potential rush strategy. They're just going to go about it with the utility that you expect. Hard Breach will be in the hands of 2 operators, both of the Grim and the Capitao, so you will be absent an Ace or a Thermite or a Hibana. Maverick obviously can be used for the hatches as well on this map, but don't really see him all that often. Soniqs being far more aggressive on this main floor than they were in the previous round. If OXG don't drone correctly, this could catch them up and aid Soniqs to get that very first kill.
One thing OXG are doing well here, and we will see how much progress they make elsewhere on the map. They are already dealing with some of the utility down below. We just saw an example, Diaz using the Twitch drone to take care of those Vulcan canisters. And to do that within the first 60 seconds, fantastic place to be. And as we said, the rest of the map control, kind of the next step for OXG, but a vital step, is going down relatively without a hitch. Everyone from Soniqs, who was positioned up above, has now retreated down below. All 5 defenders playing safe. That early aggression only serving to maybe shoot out a drone or 2. In the case of OXG, only 1 of those drones has been taken down though, so not that successful in terms of a roam for the Soniqs, but still a little bit of time delayed. And only now are OXG turning their attention towards what actually lies below. We see Newers already down in freeze or maybe looking to get involved.
Well, so much so, or so I was saying about this, the offensive threats of OXG, but a lot of it really does fall onto the shoulders of Newers. He's been one of the highest rated players in the North America League since his debut. He's had stages where he's absolutely dominated the competition. Don't know if it's just the fact that OXG is obviously going through the motions with this newer roster, or maybe losing Foxe and the leadership that Foxe provided impacted the players on this team a little bit more than we expected, but Newers has fallen back a little bit towards earth, especially as the stage has wore on. But again, you've got depth on these teams. It's not dire, but if Newers can wake up, he can be a serious difference maker for these teams. OXG are in danger of stalling out, Jonah. We've got 40 seconds to go, and they'll have to drop towards the bomb site now.
Yeah, I was going to mention, you see Dream identifying this Razor Bloom. They know it's going to be a problem, so they're going to have to be very careful as they work their way in.
Down goes Newers, Rexon trading off. Goodbye, Gomez. Dream is lost inside of the site. Every single player from OXG is rebuffed as they try to take 2 steps towards the objective. They dropped it. It looked like the bomb site was completely open for the taking, but it was just an illusion. And suddenly, Soniqs, they're as still as Grixer was in that cam. They win. OXG, a tough first half, but a 4-2 score line for the defenders as we get ready for the second half. That's the metric that you want. That's the margin that you need to hit. And I can only imagine that there's maybe the smallest bit of frustration building on the side of OXG.
Not too crazy, though, considering this is the switch. And OXG, even though it may have looked more promising for a time, that they may have come away with that 3rd round, they still got 2 rounds. They still got the bare minimum, but also kind of the threshold that they were hoping to hit. As I said before, this is what they did in their previous matchup, and this is what we see on Oregon 9 times out of 10. But on a defensive-sided map, attack is where you make the difference, and Soniqs can prove that they have that difference to take OXG's map pick right out of their hands, and they can do that already in round number 7, establishing a good attack down below. It will be a little different, though. They're going to have to face quite a bit more of this extension. At least it seems for now. You've got Diaz up above. You got Gomez up above, throwing a bit of utility, but also just maintaining those positions, maybe for a little bit longer on those top 2 floors.
Well, I talked about the Maverick being brought in that first half in the previous round, to be exact, and, well, Soniqs made me look like a fool. Not that I need much assistance these days, but both Ambi and Merc will rock with the traditional hard breachers. If you want to consider Maverick a traditional hard breacher, not a lot of people do, and I know there'll be some debate among the casters and pros, especially former pros that talk about this game, but got a lot of this hard breach gadgetry available for Soniqs. You've got Grixer running with those can openers on the Grim. That's very common on Oregon. The Bees are excellent at pinning down the defenders and preventing the defenders from retaking through very familiar avenues. And then, of course, you've got a good gun and then that secondary gadget as well to open things up. It's excellent. So I'm not exactly sure why Soniqs are not just doubling up, but tripling up on hard breach when I guess I was going to say maybe OXG made it work on their attempt, but they really didn't. So Soniqs might know something that we don't, and maybe Heartbreach was the real thing that OXG was lacking.
I don't know if it matters exactly what operator Ambi is playing. It's been very clear, at least today, that he is going to be performing well. 9 kills right now. He's moved on to the Hibana, but you can expect him to be pivotal in this late round if it comes down to it. He's got the diffuser in pocket. He'll be responsible for following Adam, for following the push with those smokes into the site to eventually get that diffuser down. As you said, a minute 15 here, so they will start transitioning to that eventual execute, and at some point, we're going to have to see them make that decision. Is it going to be that pillar take, that E-box drop, or is Freezer and Laundry something they're a bit more interested in? The rotations we're seeing now towards Bunker, you see Rexon moving over here, Adam on the tower stairs, looks like pillar is where they've got their sights set.
Merc might be playing this for the gun, as now he's going to go hunting, creeping his way down Freezer. Plenty of time for both teams still, as there's 40 seconds remaining, but they're about to hit that window for an execute. Soniqs know this. Ambi searching for his 10th kill as he sits on that pillbox hatch. Merc striking first. Yaga rotating on over, getting caught out. Now down goes Gomez. Newer swinging in the wind as all this action is happening everywhere, just like previous rounds. Not a single person from OXG is capable of getting a kill. A flawless round for Soniqs, a flawless start to the second half, and another huge round as Ambi picks up a multi-kill yet again. I was about to say it. Now it's going to look like I'm just riding what you see in front of your eyes, but this had to be an OXG timeout, and boy, oh boy, here it is.
Yeah, good timing. No better time. You're down 3, the round that you were supposed to win, and start taking some of that momentum back. Not so much. The most dominant round yet for Soniqs, and it comes at a brutal time for OXG as they switch halves. They know they have quite a tall task ahead of them, but they figure basement defense, they can get it done, no problem. That was not at all the case. Soniqs rolled in there with a fire and a fury. And yes, they took their time. It wasn't like they rushed in and went aggressive like we saw OXG attempt to do in the very first round of this map. They took their time, but they did it so clinically, not giving up a single position, making sure that not a single off-site defender from OXG while they were there in the first 30 seconds could be any trouble. And when it came to the push, a combination of some good bunker pressure, some well-executed pushes down the tower stairs, it was kill after kill after kill, and OXG, not a single response. It has been very one-sided, not only in that round, but as we've said, in the opening duels, Soniqs winning every single opening fight but one. No reason, no surprise that they are up 5-2 right now.
I suspect the Blackbeard will not actually be used. There we go, a nice swap off. Maybe because it storms, you bring the Blackbeard so that you can play on Repel outside of one of the windows, but I just feel like there's a lot better operators who get that job done. You don't need to go with an operator who is, frankly, quite bad at this competitive level. It's a good time for me to say buff Blackbeard. I have to say it every single time a Blackbeard is shown. So it's in my contract, Jonah. I don't know if they made you sign that or not.
Hot take, buff Blackbeard. Why do we need more Blackbeard? I mean, he does suck, but like we don't need him, do we?
I mean, we didn't need Shields to be as omnipresent as they've been, but...
Fair enough.
Would you rather get chased down by a Blitz, or would you rather deal with the Blackbeard? Personally, in his current state,
yeah.
I'd rather deal with the Blackbeard.
Yeah. Especially because he's so slow, even with that big old shield in his face.
He's not exactly he's not built for speed.
Nope.
Okay, he's built for stamina and endurance. You just want to hang on that window and spend 2 minutes baiting, then get a pick as somebody crosses in front of you. It's very skillful gameplay.
The old consulate, the Blackbeard, upside down rappel, CO window. I mean, that's just good stuff. I thrived there, Parker. I thrived.
How about Cafe Cocktail in the old cafe as well? Just cut off the entire top floor of the map. Just enjoy playing against that. Ah, those days. First real experience I ever had with the Blackbeard was the coastline window.
Yep.
Coastline on hookah, where they hold the hookah window and then they can see all the way through all of games. Basically get complete control of the bomb site with one player that we can't headshot him. So you just died of the DMR. That's just it. That's what happens.
Same thing on Kitchen too.
Halfway through this round, you're welcome to continue talking about Blackbeard, but I have to slap the button because I'm now done talking.
Well, I think we'll move on. I think we'll go back to the present here because while Soniqs may be feeling good and maybe feeling chipper, as are we, Oxygen maybe not so much. This is when they need to finally pick things up. They come off the tack timeout. You need to start getting some kills. Maybe the first one would help, but once again, it is Soniqs who claim the first. Ambi, his 12th kill. Make it 13 as they continue to pummel into this site. Don't tell me it's another flawless. Another one for Soniqs, 2 in a row. OXG getting steamrolled on their own map.
Yeah, this is a devastating result. And honestly, I want to give credit here to Soniqs because I think it's due. But at the same time, this is what happens to OXG. If you look at the way that OXG has played from what? It was like play day 7 or play day 6 in the NA League onward. This OXG team just, they struggle to gain ground. They struggle to deal with their opponents. And I don't know. I don't know if it's communication. I don't know if it's leadership. It certainly isn't skill. I mean, Gomez and Diaz were taking over games on M80 against very stiff international competition. Newers has been absolutely dominant in the region. Dream is an outstanding support player who has shown flashes of brilliance and very high impact kills. Like, there's no reason why this team should be having this result against these squads right now. It's just OXG is searching for redemption, right? They had their struggles. They fell down the standings. They need to prove to people that they weren't just a flash in the pan who had either a weak schedule or a very good start and eventually came back down to earth. But if you go out 7-2 on your own map, what does that say for your team's ability? You call a timeout, it does not work. 2 flawless rounds in a row happen to you, and OXG still don't look like they can land a solid counterpunch. There's very little good things to say about OXG right now in this map.
And what does it say about their chances for map 2? I mean, that may be where our focus shifts to next, unless they can pick something up and do it quick. You see them shifting things up pretty substantially here. They are going far more aggressive on the roam this time. You have Gomez up above. You have Newers, Deathmark tracker from Ambi, spotting the Solus, so he knows what's up. Knows that he has to be aware of this, and well, Merc was hoping to take advantage of some information they had onto Dream, but it is the shotgun that greets him instead.
Yeah, I mean, that's a hell of a swing by Dream, and those are the types of things that you need to do to try to derail this Soniqs train, because right now it's coming at you, and it's coming really fast. Merc has been, again, that very feast or famine style of play. Teams past, if Merc was playing the way that he is, which is 6-6, which for Merc is bad, but for most players is pretty fine, and his role maybe not the best. But there are times past on these previous teams where Merc dropping these numbers would be the death knell of his squad. Luckily, you got 13 kills on Ambi, you got 7 on Adam. Grixer and Rexen are positive as well. In fact, everybody on Soniqs is positive except for Merc, who sits at that 6-6 scoreline. That is really quite something.
Just performing far better than everyone on OXG right now. And as you said, it may not come down to the map and the intricacies of your difference in history or strategy or experience or recent scrims. Can you shoot back? That's a big question that it seems like OXG need to answer here. They've done it successfully in this round, at least, as we said. It's been Soniqs with the opening kill almost every single time. Finally, we see Merc go down first, but quickly Soniqs remedy that onto Diaz. Gomez again, the trade. 2 as Rexen tries to respond.
Oh, and Rexen inside a freezer. He's putting the chills down the spine of OXG. Newers and Gomez, last 2 remaining. Grixer with his injured shoulder, returning to the team, botching the last, but guess what? He's got an SMG. He's got hundreds of bullets to throw their way, and Soniqs have a victory on OXG's map.
Holy moly, what a way to begin. 7-2, and it was not even that close. Oh
no,
my
not
goodness.
at all. But you know what, Jonah? We got a lot of maps today, so why don't we throw to a break and then come back to hear what the analysts think of our first map.
All right, well, we're getting a statement map to be kicking things off in a do or die series here in our semifinals here, Jesse. I mean, I needed to see big things coming out from both of the teams, and we definitely did over on one side of it.
Yeah, we did. That was a rough map for Oxygen. I can't lie to you, Sierra. Something that Fox said actually in the green room when we were watching this matchup was that it feels like Oxygen just don't have a lot of confidence. And I feel like that's been a problem for them throughout the playoffs, even at the start of their quarterfinal game on Monday. And now here on Soniqs, that was a huge, huge problem for them. Not able to get anything going. It felt like Soniqs were able to read them like a book at every single turn. The entries were going their way. This was a really, really rough one for them for sure.
We talked about trends and how this is the 4th time that they'd be playing Oregon. And the thing that I mentioned is that there wasn't really much new that we saw out of them. The lack of confidence comes from the lack of diversity in their play. It looked like everything was very similar to what we've seen before in the past. And there was a lack of droning. I feel like the information on OXG's side was being exploited and taken advantage of, especially by Soniqs. They knew exactly where they needed to enter in, where they needed to get their picks. And every single time, Soniqs was getting them. And the entry stat here, 7 opening kills to 2, I mean, obviously speaks for itself. They got their picks, they fell back, and then OXG just didn't really have any more strings to grasp at.
And when we're looking at the struggles that Oxygen had to going on in this was something that, Jesse, there was warning signs right from the get-go.
Yeah, the very first round, we saw problems, particularly when we saw the rush coming through. Ambi was on the Thorn, and as we throw this clip, a lot of people will say, you know what, Thorn, why are you playing it? It's not a very common operator, but there were some really important key aspects. Obviously, it brings the shield. You see they had 1 down in Laundry, and then they've got this second shield in Bunker, so the Thorn makes a lot of sense from that aspect, bring those secondary utility, and also a comfortable gun for Ambi, I'm sure. He starts at the top of these tower stairs, and he's playing it alongside the Warden, and Oxygen clearly came into this round with their own game plan. They knew what they wanted to do. They're going to rush Dream in on the Blitz, in through tower stairs, and immediately it failed. Not only did the Thorn of Ambi get the kill onto Dream because he didn't look down the stairs, he wasn't expecting a second player in that position, but the fact that the Thorn trap also got a kill onto Gomez was just critical. And I really think when we talk about confidence, we talk about momentum, that was a big hit for Oxygen, because you're coming into the first round. You've got this game plan. You say, I know exactly how we're going to win this round. And in an instant, it shatters, and in such a devastating way as well. Obviously, that wasn't the end-all, be-all. That wasn't the game right there, but I do think that was a huge hit for Oxygen that we just didn't ever see them bounce back from.
You're right, and it really wrote the rest of the story for the round, losing that first round, because if it would have been on the other side of things where OXG actually was able to thrive with it, I think we would have seen a lot more aggression, a lot more passion from OXG's side. But because it got stopped right there, then and there, I feel like it hit the confidence and the information that OXG had. And also in that clip, there wasn't any pre-droning beforehand. It was kind of just, let's go trust the Blitz. And once that trust was broken, I mean, it was really hard to just rebuild and repair from there.
In the clip as well, we did see that Ambi got that double kill. And we got to talk a little bit more about him too, to be in that series, Fox, because this kid was stepping up.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Ambi was playing phenomenal all day today, and I think it doesn't just rely on him. I mean, the shots that he were hitting was amazing, but a lot of the positions that he was put in was off of the back of the confidence that his teammates were there. Every single moment he had a teammate that he was next to or that he would be able to make a trade off of, he was being put in these positions to excel, and this is something that we wanted to see throughout the season. We haven't necessarily seen a rookie on Soniqs besides Gunnar that has been able to just have the whole team around him. Gunnar was put in a lot of these individual-esque positions, whereas Ambi, I really think bringing Grixer in was able to give him a little bit more of that help that he so desperately needed, and a circle around Ambi to just make him survive and flourish, you know, make turn 1 kill into a multi-kill.
Yeah, and you see the stats there, 14 and 3. He sure had a hell of a lot of multi-kills, 5 throughout just the 9 short rounds that we saw coming through from Soniqs versus Oxygen. I think the key thing for Ambi was he was popping off, not just in the early round, not just in the late round, but all throughout, whether that was getting those opening picks out on the roam, as we saw on top tower stairs, or just surviving inside of the bomb site. So consistent, so good today. Ambi, can't say enough good things about him today.
And that's what you need going into today too, because this is a big day for T1 teams here. It's just the semifinals, but then you try and get into the grand finals. To be able to see at this point Soniqs having the confidence right away, Fox, to be kicking things off, I'm really excited to see them then going on forward, because they can take this momentum. They might say hello to a ticket to Manchester.
I mean, momentum is a huge thing, and obviously when you win the opponent's map pick, winning Oregon against OXG, now to go on to Bank, which is your map pick, I mean, you have to be feeling very good, especially since we spoke about it on the desk that OXG needed to make that stand on the first map, and since they didn't, Soniqs is in the driver's seat now going on to Bank.
That's the scary part too, because when we're getting into this series, we were talking about trends of the teams in the past here, and Jesse, when we're looking past the trends, and I don't have any reason to believe that the trends are wrong at this point, this doesn't fare well going into Bank now for Oxygen, and this is life on the line.
No, you're absolutely right, Sierra. I mean, it's been over a full year since the last time Oxygen were able to find a win on Bank. The last team Oxygen beat on Bank was Astralis. That team famously doesn't exist anymore. So it's been a while. They've played it twice throughout this season with the current roster. Of course, lost it both of those times as well. We see Oxygen consistently falling on this map of Bank. They really have been struggling throughout the entirety of the last year. Not a surprise that Soniqs picked it against them. They should be feeling pretty confident on it as well. 3 close games this season, 7-5 over Los, then back-to-back games against Wildcard, a loss and a win there. So I'm concerned for them. As I said, you know, the trends may not have stuck forward for Oregon, but I think this is going to be a tough task for them.
This is one of those moments where I hate to have the whole season written up to this one specific moment, but from the start, OXG replaced Fox and Fish, myself, to bring on Gomez and Diaz to completely change the whole identity of the team. And everybody kept saying, well, who's gonna lead? Who's gonna be the person? Who's gonna be the one to step up? And everything comes down to this moment to where somebody has to step up. You are down the first map, you are on Bank, the confidence is low. Somebody in the player cams, for everybody at home watching, you have to see somebody from OXG be that pinpoint, be that leader, whether it's a play from Newers that gets everyone hyped or communication from Dream to get everyone going. It needs to be somebody to step up, and this is everything that OXG has been trying to build in this last rebuild. If it doesn't come down here, then I would say the whole season would have been nothing but a failure. And so I'd at least like to see something like that to put up a fight on Bank here.
I mean, now is going to be the question. You talked about what they need to do, that we need to see the fight. Do we think that we're going to get to see that going on here? Predictions for the next map. Well, Fox, I'll let you think about this one for a second, because I need a map score from you too. Jesse, I'll let you start.
Yeah, I don't know, Sierra. I stuck with my trend in map 1. I'm not going to deviate from that strategy. I'm going to say Soniqs take this in a 2-0, and with the way Oxygen we're playing, I think it's decisive. I'm going to say 7-3.
I think Soniqs is also going to win 7. 7-3 is pretty fair. I think Soniqs gets it 7-3.
All right, well, we'll have to see 7-3, or if Oxygen can make the comeback of comebacks, get into the map, and Intero and Jonah will take you through.
Well, that's not exactly a ringing endorsement of OXG's chances here, Jonah. Not one bit. A 7-3 for SQ. That would set us well ahead in terms of timing. Do you agree with that assessment?
Unfortunately, I do. It's hard not to. I mean, you look at the map history here, not necessarily for Soniqs. It felt like they're picking more into OXG's weakness than their own strength, but that seems like a very good strategy. As Jesse said, OXG have not won this map for a year. In recent memory, it was a 7-3 loss to DZ, a 7-3 loss to SSG. They just have not proven that this roster in its current form, or frankly, even in a slightly different form, that they have a good understanding of this map and what it takes to win. Not to mention their backs are against the wall. Soniqs are riding the high of back-to-back flawless rounds to close out Oregon. Are you kidding me? That's a great place to dive into map 2 with. We know that OXG came in as the higher seed, but right now, I think it's all Soniqs, and OXG kind of feel like the underdogs all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, and rightfully so. It's you're going up against your opponents on their map. This is very familiar territory for them. I'd be extremely worried if I was a fan of OXG right now. Obviously, neither you nor I particularly care who prevails in this matchup, but I mean, if you're Soniqs, if you put an absolute drubbing on OXG and you win 7-2 and then 7-2, 7-3, maybe even a 7-4, you speed ran your way to the finals here. If I'm one of Space Station or Luminosity, I'm watching this game with great interest. I suspect that the teams are likely warming up at this point because their matchup could be coming very quickly. but you're also looking at the maps that are played and you are preparing for these maps, whether you want to go to Oregon again, and maybe you think that there were some weaknesses there that Sonic showed. Maybe you thought that OXG just played it so poorly that you can still defeat Sonics with what you've seen. I mean, obviously, this is theory crafting that the teams need to dive into, but before we get there, we need a victor of this matchup. Operator bans are locked in. Monty, Okabe, Azami, Solus, these are all relatively common bans. Azami and Solus are the two most defender-sided or defender banned operators. As for the attacking side, Dokkaebi and Monty are tied for second. Ying, surprisingly, will be available, though I would argue that on this map in particular, because of its size, Okabe is a much better ban because of the chaos that she can cause on the roam, whereas Ying will be more directly applied to the bomb site, and there are ways to beat her, like a Warden, for example, which Ambi will play. Ying being brought by Gomez.
You mentioned the roam, and that roam clear that we typically see the Dokkaebi facilitate. In this case, on the top floor, OXG won't have to worry about that too much. No Sonics defenders up there. The only one on a bit of a roam is Merc, and he is already backed down below. The next player OXG will have to worry about, this is a pretty typical position for a smoke. It's going to be Grixer on the blue stairs. SMG-11, shotgun in hand, a very vital position for the attackers to take if they want to end up pushing from your more typical approach of that CCTV site. You work your way in from server, you get those walls open, in addition to the hatch pressure that we see OXG establishing now. This will be the next big step in the round with plenty of these secondary hard breach charges. They're going to look to do this quickly. Of course, they will be stalled out by some well-placed Zoto canisters here from Adam, so using the Tuberow's gadget well, but that will not destroy that utility. It will merely delay it for now. You do have Rexen, though, and in combination with those Electro Claws, you can indeed delay and then destroy that utility, which we just saw there.
The one thing that I will say about this Sonic squad, and we saw it on Oregon, they are excellent at just showing as much patience as is humanly possible. If you think that the big issue with OXG is that their comms are not great and then they make a lot of missteps and they're quite slow, don't overexert yourself. Yeah, you can possibly catch them on the roam, but if you like your site utility, just simply wait. You don't really need to do too much. Gomez decided to breach over towards servers. Caught with the Candela in hand. Grixer punishing him, and now Grixer will ascend to the top of blue stairs. Oh no! And a huge blunder! It looked like Grixer had the upper hand, but amidst the smoke, maybe he just didn't see the outline, and Yaga will answer back. Jonah, only 30 seconds to go, and both teams down one.
Yeah, kind of ironic there. Grixer's own smoke got him killed. He could not see through the smoke that he had thrown down to provide great cover and great distraction. Instead, he sprays through, not seeing the outline of the attacker, whiffing and going down instead. Should not matter too much because OXG still seem like they're in a world of hurt as they get this diffuser down.
There goes the Nitro Cell, no coverage from Dream. Now it's Diaz's turn into the Viper's Den, gunned away, and guess who it is? Ambi comes to the rescue. Yet another multi-kill round for Ambi. What is this, his fifth multi-kill round so far today? Phenomenal stuff from the youngster, and at the time that he made his debut, the youngest player in the league, at least when he was in SI. SQ start off exactly how they ended Oregon, by winning.
And by winning with a good bit of space between them and their opponent, OXG, I mean, they made that push in the final few seconds, but talk about a last-ditch effort that really did not feel like it had much of a chance. I mean, they didn't even get both hatches open. We still saw them struggling to do that when it came down to the push, literally proning into the site, crawling behind the desk, crossing their fingers and hoping that they could somehow get the diffuser down behind the bomb chassis. Hey, listen, we've seen crazier things, but Sonics are not going to allow themselves to fall victim to that kind of thing. A swift C4, again, a lot of utility that Sonics still possessed because of the lack of sight pressure from OXG until those last few seconds made that execute an impossible one. I mean, this is something we talk about on Bank quite a bit. This map is simply quite large in terms of square footage, right? There's tons of power positions for you to clear, and it takes a lot of time. And when you're attacking basement, it's essential that you establish some site pressure early enough. The defense cannot just sit back and save the smokes and the C4s for the last 2 seconds, that they have to use those earlier to slow you down. We didn't see that from OXG. That's why they lost.
They waited a while to use their timeout back in map number 1, Jonah. I'm very curious as to how long, if things continue to go awry for OXG, how long they'll wait before they bust out that timeout. That's unlucky. Newer's attempting to use his breaching round onto that mirror window. For those that don't know, the interaction on the mirror window is that the breaching round will shatter the glass. It doesn't cause the glass to eject, but it prevents the defender from being able to see behind it. And well, with Newer's breaching round going into the wall, that's one mirror window that you now cannot rely on being taken out. It might seem small, but a couple missteps like that, and that's enough to win you the whole round.
Yeah, mirror window in janitor is, I would say, the opposite of small. It is maybe the most vital position that if Oxygen want to go for any kind of CEO execute, that they're going to have to deal with. And without it, you're going to have to go below. You're going to have to try to force that player out of the closet. Otherwise, I mean, simply you're duped. There's no way for you to take that space without dealing with it, at least from that side. Their other option is to take stock aggressively, work their way up that hallway aggressively, or in Dream's case, use that Twitch drone and sneak on into the site. I believe he dealt with one, not both of those mirror windows, so about half of the progress he was looking to get done, but progress nonetheless.
First pick is going to come in the hands of OXG. Down goes Merc. Again, almost always every round involved in that first altercation. Merc is a roamer. Merc plays entry on attack. You expect him to be one of the first to die. Or one of the first to get a pick as well. This time, wrong side of it. Gomez has been dropped. Newers has taken a lot of damage. Now Diaz over towards top stairs. The smoke goes off and Diaz has to drop. I'm not working out in their favor. Rixer finished off. Ambi bleeding out. An excellent round from OXG so far. Final 25 seconds. OXG needs to get into the building though. Rexon with the fadeaway shot dropping through the hatch down towards open area. He will go. It's only Rexon and Adam still up. Ambi is likely unable to be retrieved. Diaz is waiting for Rexon though, and this is OXG on a perfect lockout. Adam sensing somebody up the stairs will now swing over. He's got a lot of angles to cover. Diffuser going down in the hands of Dream. Adam unable to get there in time. Dream successful and now prone behind the desk. This could be a fool's errand for Soniqs on this retake. OXG are perfectly positioned to catch Adam as he makes his way out of front desk, which is lovingly referred to as Trump by so many. Now Adam creeping over towards janitor, towards trading. Adds Diaz, who was sensational in his position on stairs, to just sit only a couple steps away from where he'd got his previous kill. And OXG ties things up. A significantly better start here on Bank for Oxygen than we saw in Oregon.
Yeah, at least they can make things all square. Adam there, at least for Soniqs, he knew that his best chance to try to win that fight, or at least win that round, was to sneakily work his way around front office, as you mentioned, that Trump room, and try to deal with the player getting the diffuser down. Maybe they're just barely exposed in that 1v4. You might be able to get just one bullet off onto the head, and suddenly you can take the round. I mean, that'll be the consequence when the attackers are out of time. But in a 1v4, still so little you can do. Soniqs knew it. They could reposition and make sure that no such angle was exposed to Adam. The only thing Soniqs really had to worry about was the combination of Adam and Rexon, who were the last two alive for Soniqs. But Rexon, frankly, he was read like a book. He tried to flank down marble stairs up and around, but it was just straight up denied. The Mira at the time, now rotating over to the Fenrir, that could have been the play to save things for Soniqs had Oxygen not known exactly what was coming. We mentioned it, that it was maybe not the best start to the round in the world for Oxygen, as they did not get some of those power positions taken care of. We mentioned the mirror window in Janitor. They didn't get that taken care of as quickly as they would have liked, but a nice adjustment to work their way around it and to persevere even without that early progress. Yes, better than Oregon. It's tied at 1. Still yet to see one of these two teams kind of harness the momentum here on Bank, but at least better than Oregon for Oxygen.
Well, Ambi with 2 kills, making him look a bit more mortal so far through these 2 rounds. But again, one thing to keep an eye on is the multi-kill potential of Ambi. Usually if you win a round, somebody's going to end up with a multi-kill, right? Because if you win the round and you get all 5 kills, unless you get a team ace, somebody is killing more than one person. That's just very simple arithmetic. I don't have time to teach people math. But if it's the same player getting it time and time again, and if that multi-kill is anything more than 2 kills, then I think you can begin to talk about the impact that that player has by taking over a match. I don't think you can argue that Ambi was the main reason why Soniqs performed the way they did in map number 1, but there are a lot of contributions, Jonah, that are made that we don't see, things that enable Ambi to get those kills. And you have another big round here as Newers was distracted downstairs. Yaga dies to Ambi, traded off immediately by Adam, who was lurking downstairs in Tellers. Brief bit of action in the first 90 seconds, but Soniqs comes out ahead in that fight as they're in a 4v3.
The timing there was crazy. Newers just barely worked his way up those stairs without being spotted by the player tucked behind the desk. He got the kill, but also not having any clue that there was somebody right in front of him, he quickly went down and got traded. So again, almost an opportunity that Oxygen were able to take advantage of. Instead, the 1-for-1, and Soniqs keep things in their advantage. Now, even thanks to Gomez, actually, he's not the one credited with the kill. He had finished the downed player, but it's a 3v3 either way, and Merc, he is pinned here in trading, gets the kill anyway, not the second, nearly a chance there, but Gomez, there he goes, he'll get on the scoreboard. But Merc, pinned in a corner, just tries to fight for his life, and he goes 1-for-1.
There's Diaz eliminating Adam, who lurked in this spot. Now it's all up to Rexon. This is an open area bomb site, by the way, and not a single kill has actually come from this part of the map. That was the extension that Soniqs had set up, stretching all the way over towards lobby in the front part of Bank. Now it's Rexon, aided by the pings of his teammates. There goes a Candela, blinded, gunning. Gomez dies. Rexon can reposition now over towards one of the reinforcements on his belly. Crawling across, Diaz was nearsighted for a moment. Rexon had information. He heard the case go down, but it's a waiting game. He thinks he's in the wrong direction, but he picks the right one at the last second. Incredible heroics from Rexon. Soniqs answer back and win their second round.
And Rexon, last time I mentioned he got read like a book. This time, yeah, not even OXG could manage to pin him down, surviving and winning in the 1v2 to give Soniqs a round that frankly, I was very prepared to point out the flaws with if they were to lose. And I think I still will here, because that's not a pattern that they're going to be looking to continue further on in this map. They went way more aggressively than we've seen this team be, at least so far in this series. And for the most part, it didn't work. I mean, they went 1-for-1. Like I said, in most cases, they did get a trade. But as the defensive team there, when it's coming down to the wire and OXG are making that push, was it really the best move for Merc to pin himself in a corner and fight for it? Then we saw another player go for the swing, play a bit more aggressively out in main lobby, kind of giving up their life in a way. It ends up working out. Again, Soniqs, they're happy to take the round win. They're not going to worry about it too much. But did you need Rexon to go for a 1v2 clutch there after you started the round in the advantage? No, you shouldn't have had to rely on that. Of course, they're happy that it happened, but maybe want to tidy things up in the mid-round in the future.
I mean, you can't expect Rexon to win that all on his own, but it really just was a war on multiple fronts there, right? I mean, all of that action was happening over towards the Teller's side, towards lobby side, stretching upwards to the top floor. You anticipate that at least 1 or 2 players will be anchoring down the bomb site. Rexon isn't typically somebody who will sit in the site. I'm so used to seeing Rexon playing off-site, playing aggressively, and well, now on smoke, Rexon has been more of that support player, and boy, oh boy, did he support his team on the previous round. Now he has an opportunity to do the exact same in this position. As I believe it was Grixter that was playing smoke on the very first bottom floor defense for Soniqs. You remember that blue stairs altercation? Well, now it's in the hands of Rexon, which allows Grixter to play with a little bit more freedom. He's joined up, not too far off of what looked like it was Adam. OXG's made it into the building. They've got control of the top floor.
Yeah, Grixer and Rexen, they have been rotating the smoke. This map, but we also saw that on Oregon. Rexen alternating between the smoke and the Warden. Grixer between the Valkyrie, the Fenrir, and the smoke. So clearly versatile operator selection-wise, depending on what site they're going to. You like to see that for Soniqs. As far as their hopes in this next round are concerned, it will rely on Rexen on the smoke and Grixer on the mute. The C4 that Grixer had in pocket is usually something we would talk about coming into the last minute of this round as a fantastic piece of utility that the Soniqs have going for them when this execute eventually comes through. But in this case, Grixer has already used it. And as you can see, everyone on Oxygen alive and unscathed. So not quite as much utility as Soniqs would want in the ideal world when this execute comes around, but enough to delay still a good bit of time. We talked about last time the importance of OXG establishing quicker site pressure, getting that utility out of the hands of the Soniqs. I gotta say, with 45 seconds left instead of 10, they've completed that task.
And not just one kill now, but two, Jonah. The proverbial rubber hits the proverbial road, and OXG is speeding their way towards a victory on this round. Difficulties at ensuring, that the plant wasn't stopped last time. Ambi trying to do his best to try and cover these last players. Newers dies, the plant goes off successfully, and now Soniqs will have to retake this middle floor. Diaz is ready for it. He gets smoked by Merc, who runs headfirst into Gomez, who can now mag dump the LMG in the hands of Ying. So many bullets to deal with. Now it's Rexen to drop, dispatching Gomez. Rexen's still on this position. Now, how about a small smoke to give him some concealment, some coverage, as he'll drop. Ambi is bleeding out. It's all up to Rexen yet again. On drone, watching towards blue, running out of time. Ambi secured from the hatch. Rexen, though, out of time. Again, another great round of heroics, but the clock was far more formidable than any gun that would stare in his direction. OXG showing that they can keep tight with SQ. They fix their mistakes on this bottom floor bomb site, and they pull off a victory.
I mean, we said it. The heroics, albeit flashy and hella fun to watch, you cannot rely on those all that often. And I will say, Rexen nearly pulled it off, but it was not to be. As you said, the time ticking away in the post plant, and with the attackers able to play safe, passive angles there, you had the hatch open. All they had to do was sit on it and wait. I mean, it's just the luxury of time there for the attack. It's the beauty of Siege in those final few seconds, and why getting the diffuser down is so important, because while the entire 3 minutes of the action phase, the attacking team is the one sweating out the seconds on the clock and hoping they move in quick enough. The moment you get that diffuser down, it is all on to the defense. And Soniqs, as we saw, even though you only have 45 seconds to make it happen, they really did go for it all, not only retaking onto that second floor. I think it was Rexen, in fact, who was all the way up top, dropping down the hatch from open air, or from trading into open area, going for quite a bit of mileage, in a very literal sense, on this map to try to get the retake done. Again, a lot of kills while he was doing it, 6 to his name already, but Oxygen able to tie us up at 2.
I feel some vindication. I don't know if you as a caster feel the same way, but when you talk about a player glowingly, or you say something about a team and then it immediately ends up coming true, you think to yourself, man, I really nailed that one. Comment that I had made about Soniqs and the depth that they have is Ambi taking over games all the way back in the very first map, and now it's Rexen doing so well on Soniqs. Admittedly, that previous round, all the kills that Rexen got were impactless, but that's fine, they happen. When you say, Soniqs have so much depth, and now look at the scoreboard, it just feels good, you know?
Big brain. You just got it all on lock.
Right
Make
up
a
in
prediction,
here.
immediately comes true.
Right up in the brain, you know?
Yeah, just right up in there.
It's right up
You're
in
around
there.
5
you know?
though, and maybe I've got it in me. Maybe I'll cook something up, make some sort of crazy prediction for later, or not so crazy. That way I can definitely make sure it comes true. But in this round here, we will see how OXG are able to continue some of this momentum, this back and forth that they've been building. They would love to take a second round in a row here, really get themselves in the upper hand on Bank for the first time. And as you said, we talked about the depth on the Soniqs, or in this case, you know, maybe not everyone contributing, at least through these first few rounds. But Oxygen, look at how well they've been spreading the love. Everyone with 3 kills, Yaga with 4. That is the definition of everyone doing their part. Maybe more than you even normally see. Hydrocell out on the window, nearly takes care of Dream. With his 3 kills, he has a chance to find a 4th, as he is still alive, throwing this utility in and maybe looking to make a move.
Grixter will be on cams, now Rexon will as well. The greatest foe, gone. Yaga with a pick on to Adam. Merc, the only person from Sonic so far. The strike caught. Sonic's outnumbered 2-1. Flash will go in, Merc firing. Desperate attempts in his position. Now it's Ambi watching similar angles. Long range. Gomez getting the diffuser down. These castle barricades are actually working against them. Ambi scrambles into position, gets the kill on the Gomez. Timer's already gone. Ambi firing away from this spot. 6 kills now. Where are the last 2 players? Does he have time to hop on that diffuser? Going to attempt to long arm it. Laying his body away from the window, but a big flank of his exposed over towards square. And OXG has something that, guess what? They haven't had all day. The lead.
That's got to feel good. Finally. And even on your opponent's map pick. Little taste of their own medicine here delivered for the Soniqs. I mean, we saw it in the end, a 1v2 that was so unlikely to go the Soniqs' way. Of course, primarily prioritizing the window, worrying about somebody on the rappel there, so trying to long arm the diffuser from behind the bomb chassis. The real threat was top square, right out on the balcony, just sitting and waiting. The moment, you know, you hear that counter diffuse going on, someone's gonna round the corner and go for the swing. But that top floor site, Soniqs, they've attempted it twice now, and both times, Oxygen took the win. So Soniqs maybe regretting going there a second time. We will definitely not see it a third. Instead, they will go to a site that they were victorious on down below in open area and staff room or break room or cafeteria, whatever you want to call it. I believe the official term is staff office, if that's possible, or break room. It depends. But that is where they'll be going nonetheless. And that is where they'll hope to make their stand to get out of this half even. They now find themselves down, as we said, on their own map pick. We expected them to be strong here, riding that high from Oregon, and they have been, but not strong enough to hold the lead.
I mean, I guess there's a thought here that Bank is a friendlier map to the attackers, so having the attackers do well on Bank is not that abnormal. I mean, do keep in mind that Soniqs picked this map, so OXG gets to pick the side. OXG picked attack, and they're making it work. I mean, the fact that OXG has picked this side and won 3 rounds is great. If Soniqs can actually emerge from this first half tied up 3-3, then I think they're in excellent shape once the side swap comes in. Now, I will say this. If we just solely look at the LCQ, Bank played twice, defender-sided map, but it's only 25 rounds. So there's not a lot you can glean from that, right? You have to go back and you have to actually look at the rest of North America and get a good idea of how this map is played. It's the 2nd most played map in the NA League, and it's an attacker-sided map. So when you look at a bomb site like Locker's CCTV, the most played bomb site on this map by quite a stretch, it's sitting at a 37% win rate for the defenders. That's abysmally bad. Open area, 52%, next most played. CEO up top. Okay, we're starting to see some good numbers. 58% for the defenders. But still, it's really, a lot of these bomb sites are a crapshoot. The fact that Gomez has died does not necessarily imbue much confidence in the OXG take, and now they've also lost Yaga, swinging over towards the stairs. Ambi will quarterback this defense from far enough away, and could it be another flawless round, Jonah, as OXG's been reduced to 2 players with 60 seconds left.
What a swing of the momentum after Oxygen. I mean, another successful attack up top, 2 rounds in a row. Soniqs, I mean, look at this. Ambi at the helm, the first 2. Merc with the next. Just leaves Dream and DS left. Defend for themselves against 5. Soniqs, I mean, we saw them get very active early in this round. Typically, in a situation like this, it's smarter to kind of chill and wait for Oxygen to work their way to you, but I don't think Soniqs are going to get that memo, nor do I think it matters. Grixer will take the fight and win them both, as it is a flawless round. Parker, you and your big brain and your prediction again, you got it right. And Soniqs emerge 3-3 at the half.
Damn, it feels good to be so right, Jonah. It's just, you know.
It's a burden being that intelligent.
It really is. There's a reason why my head is so physically large, and I like to think it's because it contains a slightly larger than average sized brain. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously a joke. But when you watch these teams enough and you watch these maps enough, you get a feel for how things are going to play out. Again, it's about 45-55 in favor of attackers, right? The attackers being 55%. So Soniqs taking 3 rounds on defense isn't that abnormal. But if you look at those numbers, you're hoping for a 4-2 half on attack. OXG didn't get that. So now they're going to go to the bomb site that historically actually has the lowest win rate for the defenders, which isn't usual. I do think this is a bit strange here. And I don't know if it's really going to test Soniqs at all, because Soniqs picked this map. They're going to show quite a high level of proficiency, I would imagine, on most of their executes. Why not go somewhere like Open Area or even CEO, which admittedly they both have fewer plays, but they tend to do better for the defenders. My thinking with this, Jonah, is that the bottom floor bomb site is usually the easiest to defend for teams that are not confident on this map. And I do wonder if that's part of the reason why OXG has chosen this bomb site.
Just makes Soniqs have to go through so much work here on the top floor, especially to start. That's part of the reason why Rexon's going to be on that Jackal, right? You have the ability to maybe get some information that helps you with this clear, but it still means you have to act on it. And as he quickly works his way through the map and identifies some footsteps or the lack thereof, he'll know that the top floor is clear and that the remaining defenders who linger on that first floor are now dropping away. That was Dream in the elevator, and it is Newers and Gomez, well, now formerly in Open Area and now down below on the site. Merc will actually get to Dream, though, before Dream could fully get out of the elevator downstairs. So Dream may be hoping to send that Nitro cell up and maybe get that kill, but it did not surprise Merc whatsoever.
Oh my. Oh my, oh my. Not exactly the start that any team wants, especially the team that is playing on their opponent's map, that is now playing on the worst side of the map and is also staring down potential elimination from the qualifiers for the Manchester Major. It's in the name, last chance. This is the last chance for OXG unless they win. There's no lower bracket. There's no saving grace for you. It's over. You lose here, you go home. Well, most of them look like they're home, but you don't go to Manchester, I suppose, is the better verbiage we can use. Though, I will say this, not all hope is lost. OXG has plenty of tools in their bag of tricks. They're slowing down the drone work. They're shooting away at the information for Soniqs, and they're using the Zoto canisters to quite literally freeze out the hard destruction. Could Soniqs pivot with 40 seconds left and pull this one off and take the lead?
They just have some utility too. Speaking of those fun toys in their pocket, you look at Grixer, he's got 2 nades. Great kind of piece of utility to throw in the gap, maybe delay that swing coming in from Oxygen, but Ambi through the smoke, he's gonna look to get this down.
They have to bait it out. This is the rhythm of this bomb site. Ambi taking a lot of damage. Rexon just in the midst of the site, surviving for way longer than you'd think. The supporting cast from Soniqs are there. Merc with another kill. Ambi attempting the defuse again, all while Rexon has the attention of at least one player from OXG. He dies, but it works out. The diffuser goes down, and amidst the bullet storm, Diaz is left standing from Oxygen. Soniqs attack smothering OXG. But wait a moment. Diaz could pull this off. Starting with 1 kill, 2 more to find. Soniqs have scrambled out of the bomb site. Diffuser now at the halfway point. Flashes to go in. SQ still leaving some utility to use against Diaz, who will now patrol the hatch. But every second counts. Diaz will attempt it again. Safe for the time being, but he falls off just as Adam gets the job done. Final 2 kills in the hands of Adam. Soniqs regained the lead, and they looked so confident on that attack.
Well, Soniqs doing what OXG could not on their first basement attack, but corrected for the second one. And you pointed it out in the middle of that round, Parker. It was the little back and forth exchange of baiting the defuse, waiting for some utility, the smokes, and then the C4 to come flying, and then running away. Doing it again twice. Eventually, they could time it up. So as the final smoke dissipated, Ambi, you see here in the replay, sneaks in, faces the other way, and actually goes for the diffuser. And by the time that happens, with no utility remaining, Oxygen have to swing. They swing wide, they try to deny it, they try to retake, and that's when the coverage from the hatches from Soniqs becomes so vital. They were in the right place at the right time. A well-coordinated attack, and looking clean the entire way. They take the lead once again.
This is exactly what you want if you're Soniqs. I love the way they cut in there. And honestly, eliminating Dream so early on, the Mira, that's a nitro cell down. Do not underestimate the importance of a single defender with a single nitro cell playing behind that default Mira window in Vault, or at least near Vault. The fact that you don't have your smokes or you don't have one of those nitro cells mean that the attackers can manage the clock a lot more effectively. Instead of baiting out 3 toxic canisters and potentially 1 to 2 nitro cells, which realistically can be a 45-second dance with just the smokes alone, now you're looking at maybe 30 to 40 seconds because teams might panic. They might have thrown off a smoke early. Maybe you even shoot one of those smoke canisters as they get tossed, just as you try to do with the nitro cells. So the fact that that was the first operator off of the board is terrible for the defenders, and really it knocked OXG on their heels, not just because Soniqs can take advantage of the timing, but also you've got the man count in your favor. You now know there's only 4 players that you have to deal with. All the while we're saying this, by Jove, there's a rush potentially unfolding in front of our very eyes. Blitz ready to pounce inside of open area. Rexon is off to the races. He's joined by some teammates. Adam with 2. Ambi dies. Rexon worried about getting shot from archives. Adam a 3rd. Merc on the board. Soniqs looking to break the backs of OXG, and they've just about done it, as it's a 4K for Adam. The rush from Soniqs works, and Soniqs stretch their lead as they're up 5-3.
And look at Adam, of course you're feeling good after that. You push in quick, the team goes for the rush. You could tell it was preconceived the entire time. They loaded in with the blitz and they were ready to go from the jump. But the real key, I mean, Adam finding all of those kills and not just playing right behind the blitz. I mean, we spent so much time looking at the blitz and watching where that success would come from the helm of that attack, that we neglected to keep an eye on Adam, who from the other side whips around for 2 nasty kills there. The 3rd just as clean, and the 4th one, as he knew where Dream was positioned, he denied the rotate back to the site. Love that we got to see that replay to see exactly what Adam was up to, but he found his 8th kill after finding 4 on that round. And yeah, it wasn't Rexon with the flash shield in front of him that did the true damage. It was Adam behind him, using the space the blitz had taken, but using it perfectly.
Genuinely very impressive round from Soniqs, and OXG looked like they might have still been figuring out where Soniqs would come from. It was about 45 to 50 seconds into live action that we saw the blitz spring forward. Walls opened up by Selmas, and then OXG was just waiting for those Soniqs players to walk into a line of sight, and one by one OXG was snuffed out. And this round is not going to get much better. I don't know exactly what Dream is doing, but this is 2 rounds now where Dream is playing in what should be a sheltered role and is yet finding himself with an early grave.
Did he die up in front office or on banana trying to get those windows reinforced? I mean, that's normally where you would see the castle position. But to die so early in the round, like you said, this is doing no favors to an OXG defense that is quite substantially on the back foot. Yaga proving to be maybe one of those good positive elements for OXG in this round. Some bandit tricking will attempt to delay any opening that Soniqs want to make on that wall with the Selmas. to establish that long angle, but it's not going to be too much of an issue for them at this point. They're going to start pivoting to the other side. They've dealt with the shield in front of the Mira. That's a very good piece of utility to dispatch at this point into the round. That's what those Rotero drones are all about. And normally we see the Flores have to expend almost all of them dealing with that position. Ambi still has one in pocket and has already made such good progress.
Well, it's a waiting game for OXG at this point. Grixer yet another, my God. Newers is gone. 4-9 on Newers is a dreadful stat line for somebody who usually is so much better than that. Now it's Gomez getting picked apart. So many rounds, Jonah, where Soniqs just find OXG in a position that OXG wasn't expecting. And now hunting season is underway, and Ambi has got the permit. A Spaniard, that's his goal. It's Diaz on Mira, playing far enough back, but might actually get the read onto Ambi swinging across, but Ambi wins it, a double kill of his own, matching out as Adam gets the final pick, and Soniqs are perfect on attack. 3-0. They're sitting on match point, series point. They win this one. They go to the finals of the LCQ and would be 2 maps away from securing their spot at the Manchester Major.
The only thing stopping Soniqs from yet another flawless round there was the fact that Ambi wanted to whip out the pistol and get a little crazy. We saw him shaking his head there at the reactions at the very last moment, knowing that, yeah, he did try to go for a little too much as he, wanted to get ambitious, wanted to have a little fun, but it truly didn't matter. It was Soniqs who took that round, again, so decisively that they just never looked back, and it will force Oxygen to take this time out. Parker, as you said, their backs more against the wall now than ever. It is match point, series point, and as far as OXG are concerned, elimination point. They were so close to qualifying for the major. They were 4th place when top 3 made it. The top seed here in the LCQ, but right now the 5 seed, the 8th place finisher from the regular stage, is giving him the business here on Bank and in this series. 6-3, no sign of life for Oxygen on the defensive side yet. We got to see it now as they restart the rotation, but they have to go flawless. Single round for Soniqs, and this thing is curtains.
Well, it might have been just a good prediction, but it seemed like almost like a prescient warning from Foxay when he said a 7-3 looked pretty good, and Soniqs are a single round away from nailing that prediction on his end. Who'd have thought that the former captain / IGL of Oxygen might know this team a little bit? It's very strange. I didn't expect that one to come out. But Soniqs on attack, the amount of times that they not just get that opening pick, but then follow-up picks in sequence where OXG is looking in the other direction. I really do wish that there was a way to track this with the API where these are uncontested kills where somebody's back is turned to you or they're looking in, maybe not the back, but at least the side, because those numbers would not be pretty for OXG at the moment. This happened on Oregon. It's now happening yet again here on Bank, where OXG just doesn't look like they have any information as to where Soniqs are going to come from. And if that keeps up, well, I mean, obviously there's one more round for OXG. If that keeps up, the match is over and OXG are gone. But even if they prevail here, I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the communication, though with a couple listen-ins, we have heard some chaos in the comms for OXG. Maybe there's something else at play, but it must be resolved because OXG is losing in very obvious ways. And at this level, with how close these teams should be, that really shouldn't be the result. Merc has found his way very close to the bomb site as Ambi dies to Yaga, and the action will kick off with 2 minutes still left in the round.
Yeah, so he's just in, I guess, trying to do it all himself. He has the diffuser in his pocket, so if he goes down here, that's kind of brutal for Soniqs. He is going to slow down just a bit, maybe wait for a little bit of support. There's somebody above the hatch that is likely to drop down and join him, but this was a bold choice to make because now instead of being that surprise and getting those kills, now you're kind of stuck here.
Oh my! This could be it for Oxygen.
Bomb located by attackers.
For a name like that, they're running out of it, and they are choking round by round. Soniqs, the new look. And boy, oh boy, do they look good.
How does that work?
How does what work? How does what work, Jonah?
Dropping down, solo push from Merc into the vault with 90 to 2 minutes left and 90 seconds to 2 minutes left in the round. That is crazy. That is crazy. They get it, and it's not like it was a total surprise. The moment Merc dropped down, everyone knew it. I said he was stuck, apparently not. Instead of him being stuck in a death trap, it was all of Oxygen stuck in the lobby with Merc, with Grixer, with Ambi, with Soniqs, who just handled business here on Bank.
Well, Soniqs honestly looking phenomenal with this new roster. I don't know exactly how GOIGL'd this team. I don't know what Grixer provides specifically behind the scenes, but you've got 5 players on Soniqs, all of whom are capable of killing everybody, including the players on OXG, who aren't bad shots on their own. But OXG just look like they've been devoid of life. I don't really know where to begin to diagnose this OXG team. They had a strong start to the stage. They've been free fall since the tail end of the NA League, and the fall continues as they are out of the Manchester Major. They're not going to make it at all to this event. You go all the way back to, what was it? They said it was Charlotte that we last saw OXG compete internationally. It's been 2 long years, and they're going to have to wait even longer, because I suspect that unless a mystery event pops up at some point during the summer, the Montreal Major is going to be your next chance at qualifying for an international competition. And that's ages away. Good news, Jonah, is that OXG has lots of time to figure out what's wrong and ideally make roster moves or at least changes to their system to show that they can keep lockstep with the rest of NA.
Gotta come soon, though. And obviously, OXG, as welcome as changes might be, they did not want to be in this position at all. And unfortunately, it's back to the drawing board.
Well, that's for the losers. But for the winners, they got one more match today. Soniqs will be competing in our grand final, potentially 2 maps away from making it to Manchester. You know the expectations on their shoulders. But are they going to face Luminosity, or are they going to face Space Station? Because we got that matchup next. We'll be back in just a couple minutes.
Well, once we saw the vetoes, it was said that it had to be a first map win for Oxygen if they wanted a chance to take this at 3. A loss there, and it continues on Fox with that. Oxygen have been eliminated from the LCQ.
Yeah, it's a really sad moment for all OXG fans. I'm tearing up as I'm speaking about it. I mean, the curse continues from last year into this year. Just they do really hot starting off, and then all of a sudden just lifeless, empty down the tank, and that's exactly what I would contribute that game to. Of course, Soniqs was playing amazing, but it really just looked like in this map too, OXG just looked lifeless. There wasn't any fun. I will give commendations to Newers. I will say I saw him trying to hype everybody up as much as possible, but aside from him, it really looked like everybody was just kind of just, you know, waiting for the inevitable, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's one of those times as an analyst where you hate to be right. Fox and I both getting the 7-3 prediction. I wanted to see a closer game, even for Oxygen, even if they have to lose this, right? Even if they are going to be not the better team today, I would have liked to see them going out with a little bit more fight. You know, I like their attacks on the top floor. They were able to find some good picks on that bomb site, but otherwise it really did seem tough for them. I think Soniqs kind of with a better team outplayed them throughout from start to finish. Some cool ideas from Soniqs, certainly on the defense. I really liked that very first round with the 2-brow Kaid combo coming through, having some nice strategies that made the hash work very difficult for Oxygen. And then in the late round as well, shutting down Dream a lot in those early rounds, making sure that he couldn't survive for the late round, whether he was on Mira or Castle or wherever he might be trying to play. They did a great job of shutting him down early so that they couldn't have those strong anchors on site. Really did feel rough for Oxygen, and I feel for the fans as well, because OXG fans have been through a lot over the last couple of years, and it seems like it's just not getting better.
Yeah, I mean, it really did look like everybody on OXG was playing the right operators, playing in the right spots, playing what they needed to do, but it just didn't necessarily look like everyone understood why they were playing there, what the fall-offs were supposed to be, where we're supposed to have some overlap to connect. It didn't look like they had answers for what Soniqs was throwing at them, and especially Soniqs, when they were able to ramp up that little bit of confidence, they just started dropping down hatches. I mean, there was moments where Rexon was in the sight in the first, like, minute and a half into the game, just taking so much attention, and nobody from Oxygen just had a response to deal with him. And it didn't necessarily look like they should be getting away with some of these plays, but obviously when Soniqs, they have that confidence behind them, it allows them to go for these aggressive fights, and that's what we've seen in the regular stages. When Soniqs feels confident, they go for these insane fights, and if they're hitting their shots, obviously everything just looks like it's firing on all cylinders.
And that's the Soniqs that I want to see going into this as well, considering that they did have that change coming into the LCQ. I mean, Grixer's not an unknown quantity, but at the same time, that is a big adjustment to be making ahead of a big event. So to see everything, Jesse, just come together so well, I think Soniqs fans should have high hopes going ahead into the finals.
No, I agree. It's looking really good with Grixer. I mean, they brought him in to try to fix some of the defenses. Today, Soniqs were flawless on attack. So if they've got those defenses working out, now with the attack to go perfect, I think 6-0 against OXG on the offensive side through 2 maps. Soniqs should be feeling really, really confident going into the finals.
Well, let's have a chance to hear from Soniqs themselves about how they're feeling going into the finals and head over to our interview with Ambi. First off, I have to say congratulations on the win. How are you feeling now heading into the finals, especially with how the team's performing?
I mean, I feel great. The team feels great, and, we're ready to play this next game.
I'm so glad to hear it. I know it's a long day, so I'll keep this short, but the biggest question I have, in the matchup video, you were saying that Oxygen, they know kind of what they want to do with the round starts, the mid, and that the counter to them, you just had to, and then redacted. We cut that one out. We're not leaking strats beforehand. So what actually is it when you're looking at Oxygen as a team that Soniqs needed to do to be shutting them down to get such a dominant victory?
I mean, against OXG, we know they're pretty, a defaulty team. So, we know we have to hold our ground on defense, and on attack, we just gotta, just do our thing. And I mean, we really just had to hold our zones on defense, and we did that. We got a 3-3. The defense play could have been better, but it's fine. But then our attacks were just beautiful today. We were coordinated, everyone was together, and it was just beautiful.
Coordination I want to see headed into a grand finals match. And I lied, I have one more quick question. Luminosity or Space Station, which one do you want to face against in the grand finals here?
I got friends on both those teams, I think SSG would be a good game if we play SSG. But I think both would be a good game. But SSG will be a good game too.
Fun either way. I'm excited nonetheless. I'll let you get some rest. Thank you so much for chatting with me. Best of luck.
Thank you. You too. Have a good day.
Yeah. All right, back over here for us. I mean, Lux, Abby's talking about the confidence, feeling good going into finals. They're definitely looking good in that first match. So I definitely have high hopes and high expectations now for them.
Oh, I mean, absolutely. I mean, if you're going to get the first win of the day, this is probably the hardest moment in their minds right now, because they just have to get towards or over the first obstacle. Now they get to sit back, watch the next game, have time to prepare for exactly what they're going to want to do. Whereas the victor of the next game going forward has to pretty much win. Obviously, they were watching too, but now they have to go from one game straight into that finals against Soniqs. So obviously, Soniqs has to be feeling like they're in the driver's seat right now in the moment.
Yeah, and Ambi, I mean, great to hear from him. Obviously feeling very, very confident. You could hear he was kind of indecisive on which team he wanted to play. I think even if he didn't say it explicitly, I think he knows that maybe he thinks that LG would be a little bit of an easier opponent. He said both would be good games, but he particularly said Space Station would be. And I think that's kind of him saying, listen, we're confident against both these squads, but we really want to play against whoever comes out on top and play a close match. So I should be very excited for the finals.
Oh, I'm definitely excited to see who's going to be making their way into the grand finals to meet Soniqs. Of course, it's going to be Luminosity and Space Station facing off next after a short break.